Linda Lane took her friend's position at Tmont Cafe, unaware that this day would change her life. Juggling orders, she spilled hot coffee on a customer in an expensive gray suit. "It's burning," she exclaimed, her voice trembling, pointing at the stain on the elegant fabric. Her hand, holding napkins, froze in embarrassment. Her heart raced like a drum. The man, tall and imposing, with neatly styled black hair and a square jaw, slowly turned, his piercing gaze fixed on her. "I'm sorry, sir, it's my fault. I'll pay for the cleaning," she said, her voice weak but sincere. He stared at her, his jaw clenched. "That's a $3,000 suit," he said bitterly, each word laced with disdain. The cafe froze, conversations hushed, cups hung in midair, a baby stopped crying. The golden light from the windows dimmed under a cloud. Panic washed over Linda. "Sorry doesn't clean in Armani," he added coldly. She flinched, holding back an excuse. Taking a breath, she closed her eyes to chase away the tears. "You're right," she said calmly. "If I could rewind 5 seconds, I would. But I can't. I'm sincere, I'm sorry." She held his gaze, her cheeks flushed, her hair disheveled from the morning rush. Without drama, she expressed pure regret. The man's expression wavered. He pulled out a handkerchief and dabbed at his suit. "Linda, Tmont Cafe," he read from her badge. She straightened up. He was unaware that she had taken this job for a sick friend, that she had lost her job at the library, that she cried alone in her studio, worried about her rent. Alan Walker was alone in his office at the top of Walker Enterprises. The Boston skyline stretched behind him, but he was fixated on a legal document, the words blurring under pressure. A clause in his father's will threatened him. Without a marriage within 60 days, his company would merge with Blake International, his father's enemy. Alan clenched his fists. He had sacrificed a decade to rebuild the company, giving up everything but work. And now he needed a wife. He stood up, contemplating the city. He had tried elite matchmaking agencies, ambitious executives, influencers. None saw the man behind the CEO. His phone buzzed, a cancellation for a blind date. "Cancel everything," he replied. An idea sprouted. What if the solution came from elsewhere, from someone authentic? His thoughts drifted back to Linda Lane, the blonde barista from Tmont Cafe. She had ruined his suit, but her apology was sincere, her dignity intact. She didn't know who he was, and that mattered. She had marked him with her simplicity. Alan picked up his phone. "Carla, arrange an interview for an assistant," he said. "A replacement?" "You just renewed Maria's contract," Carla replied. "No, it's different. Find the girl from Tmont Cafe, the blonde, the one who spilled coffee on me." Silence. "You want to hire a barista?" "A discreet interview, as temporary," he insisted. "Understood," Carla said. Alan hung up, pensive. It was reckless, unprofessional, perhaps unethical. But in that chaotic moment at the cafe, someone had seen him as a man, not a CEO. Linda wasn't a perfect candidate, but she was real. He didn't know if she would accept, if she would play along to appease the board. But Alan knew one thing. The best deals are made off the beaten path. Maybe Linda wasn't a deal. Maybe she was the unexpected solution, a miracle clause he had never anticipated. He sat back down, determined to take his chance, despite the risks. Linda Lane stepped into the sparkling lobby of Walker Enterprises, her stomach in knots. She didn't understand why she had been summoned for a temporary assistant position, with no experience or prior application. But an intuition had pushed her to accept. Adjusting her borrowed blazer, she took the elevator to the top floor. Alan Walker's office, with its glass walls and view of Boston, resembled a palace. He stood behind his desk, impassive. Without mentioning the spilled coffee, he invited her to sit down. Mississippi Lane, thank you for coming, he said. I don't understand why, she replied, cautious yet polite. I need someone who thinks quickly, speaks frankly, and isn't intimidated by a title, he explained. Linda tilted her head. You saw all that when I spilled coffee on you? A slight smile touched his lips. A memorable introduction, he admitted. She smiled back. Linda became his temporary assistant, but she wasn't trying to impress. She asked direct questions, challenged unnecessary tasks, brewed coffee too strong, and corrected Alan when he brusquely addressed the staff. You're the boss, but people work better when they feel seen, she told him one day in a meeting. Alan, taken aback, listened. No one spoke to him like that. Her presence transformed the office atmosphere. Employees smiled more. Meetings became efficient. Even the board of directors noticed a change. You seem more approachable, commented a member. Linda's role evolved. What began as an assistant position transformed into late strategic sessions, impromptu client dinners, and brainstorming sessions for two in Alan's office, surrounded by takeout. Linda adapted without complaint, becoming more lively, anticipating Alan's needs before he expressed them. Between spreadsheets and coffee breaks, the distance between them shrank. They worked in symbiosis, too well to go unnoticed. You two never argue? Asked Carla, Alan's secretary, raising an eyebrow. Only about what makes a good coffee, Linda joked. Alan, behind her, laughed. During a business trip to Chicago, Alan invited Linda. Officially, she was taking notes. Unofficially, he didn't want to leave without her. The meetings were a success, and clients noticed a newfound softness in Alan. She does you good, an investor remarked. Alan wanted to deny it, but remained silent. At the airport, a storm caused delays. A small boy cried alone near a trash can. Without hesitation, Linda knelt beside him. Hey, are you okay? Are you lost? She calmed him, asking gentle questions while Alan alerted security. The child's mother arrived, in tears, and Linda discreetly stepped back. Alan watched, an indescribable emotion swelling in his chest. On the return flight, Linda fell asleep against the window. Alan, beside her, gazed at her peaceful face. For a moment, he imagined a future with her. Back in Boston, a storm closed the offices early. Linda stayed to help Alan with the report. With the streets flooded, he insisted, Stay here, there's a guest suite. They shared a Thai meal, jazz playing in the background. The atmosphere was almost domestic. Linda laughed at one of Alan's remarks, wiping a drop of sauce. He looked at her, his heart racing. Their eyes met, the air vibrating. They leaned closer, their faces just inches apart. Then Alan pulled back. I'm sorry, he murmured, his voice heavy. It's okay, she replied softly, confused. He wanted to kiss her, but an unspoken truth held him back. This position was a trap. Linda was more than just an assistant. This restraint created a fragile fissure. Alan stared at the rain, aware that the truth could no longer wait. The atmosphere was almost domestic. They shared a Thai meal. On a Friday afternoon, the office was quiet, the rain drumming against the windows. Linda, who stayed behind to organize files for Alan, was sorting documents at her desk when a notification popped up on the screen. Alan was on a call downstairs. The email, titled Prenuptial Contract Project, Plan B, caught her eye. Thinking it was spam, she opened it. It was a message from Alan's lawyer, with a prenuptial contract mentioning Linda Lane as a contingency if Plan A fails. The words stabbed her. Her employment provides a smooth transition for the public narrative. Linda brought her hand to her mouth, rereading, incredulous. Plan B. Not love, but convenience. The office turned icy. She stood up, grabbed her bag, and walked toward the elevator. Alan entered at that moment, surprised. Linda, what's going on? She stared at him, her eyes shining with anger. You thought I wouldn't find out, huh? Her voice trembled. What are you talking about? He asked, perplexed. The prenuptial contract. Plan B, Linda Lane. Alan froze, the silence deafening. I can explain, he tried. No, she cut him off, hand raised. Alan Walker locked himself in his office, blinds drawn, lights off. Boston faded into twilight, but he saw nothing. For 3 days, he barely spoke. Meetings canceled, emails ignored. He stared at screens without seeing them. Linda was gone, and for the first time, his empire, built from the sweat of his brow, made no sense. Her words haunted him. You saw me as a solution, not a person. He walked through Boston in the rain, without an umbrella, wandering aimlessly. He stopped in front of Tmont Cafe, where it all began. The warm lights, the espresso machines, the soft jazz, everything was intact, except for her. He sat at a corner table, ordered a black coffee, and watched the door, hoping to see her enter, her hair in a ponytail, her apron tied. She did not come. For a week, he returned every day from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., waiting for the impossible. On the 7th day, he left a $20 bill under his cup and walked to a nearby park. Sitting on a bench, he watched the ducks on the pond, wondering how he had let something so rare slip away. That night, at home, he reread the email of the prenuptial contract. He closed his laptop, took a blank sheet of paper, and handwrote his resignation. The next day, he presented it to the board. The room erupted in disbelief. Alan returned to the Tmont Cafe, ordering a vanilla chai latte, Linda's favorite. He sat in the corner, as always, watching the door. The barista, intrigued, eventually spoke to him. Are you waiting for someone? She must have been special. She is, he murmured. The bell jingled, but it wasn't her. Yet he waited, for that was what love taught. To wait, to hope, and sometimes to let go. Linda, on the other hand, had found her footing at the Commonwealth Avenue Public Library. After the death of her godmother, the whirlwind that was Alan, and the pain, she found solace among the books. She shelved the stacks, helped elderly readers, read to children. Her heart, still bruised, began to heal. One afternoon, as she was closing the library, she saw him. Alan, across the street, hands in pockets, standing in the rain. He looked different, less polished, more human. Their eyes met. He crossed slowly, stopping a few steps away. Hey, he said, his voice low. I shouldn't be here, but I have to tell the truth, expecting nothing in return. She remained silent. Linda fixed the receipt, Alan's words etched in her mind. Her fingers trembled, pressing the paper against her chest. All night, she weighed her emotions, anger, pain, but also that warmth he had awakened in her. Was it possible to forgive? To start over? The next morning, she walked towards Tmont Cafe, her heart racing. The bell chimed softly as she entered. Alan was there, at the corner table, a coffee in front of him. He stood up, their gazes locking. I was hoping you would come, he said. Linda smiled, uncertain. I wasn't sure until this morning. I understand, he replied. May I buy you a coffee? She raised an eyebrow, amused. Only if you don't spill it.
He laughed, relieved. Deal.
He returned with a cup adorned with a heart drawn on it. Open it, he whispered. Linda removed the lid. Inside, among a folded napkin, was a velvet box. Alan knelt, the entire cafe holding its breath. Alan and Linda left the cafe hand in hand, under the warm gazes of the patrons. Outside, Boston sparkled under a clear sky, reflecting their new beginning. Linda tightened the ring on her finger, a mix of excitement and apprehension washing over her. Alan, sensing her hesitation, stopped. Are you sure? He asked gently. She looked at him, her eyes sincere. I am. But promise me one thing. No more secrets. I promise, he replied, his voice serious. They walked to the park where Alan had sat for days, reflecting on his mistakes. They settled on a bench, watching the ducks glide across the pond. Linda talked about her godmother, the library, her simple dreams. Alan, for the first time, shared his fears, the pressure from his father, the loneliness of power. They discovered each other, unfiltered, their words weaving a bond stronger than contracts. In the following weeks, Linda returned to the library, refusing to live in Alan's shadow. He respected her independence, sometimes coming to help her organize books, awkward but sincere. The employees of Walker Enterprises were shocked to learn of his resignation, but many admired his choice. Linda and Alan planned a simple life, away from the spotlight. No grand wedding, just an intimate ceremony with close friends and the children from the library, laughing around a homemade cake. Alan found new purpose consulting for small businesses, using his expertise to help, not dominate. The story of Alan and Linda became a legend at Tmont Cafe, told by the baristas to new customers. It was not just a romance, but a lesson. The most beautiful beginnings often arise from accidents. Linda, once broken by loss and uncertainty, found in Alan a partner who loved her for her truth, not for a role. Alan, freed from the chains of his ambition, discovered that true wealth lay in shared moments, not in signed contracts. Their life was not perfect. They sometimes argued over the strength of the coffee or the management of bills, but each conflict was resolved through listening. Linda learned to trust again, Alan to open up without fear. Their home, a small apartment near the library, was filled with books, laughter, and the smell of fresh coffee. They often welcomed friends, colleagues, even strangers met at the cafe, sharing stories around a wobbly table. The receipt Alan had kept, framed, proudly displayed in their living room, a reminder of their best mistake. Tmont's customers, inspired, sometimes left messages on their cups, apologies, wishes, dreams. In return, Linda and Alan offered free coffees to lost souls, believing that every encounter could change a life. Their story touched Boston and beyond, relayed through articles, podcasts, posts on X. But for them, the magic remained in the ordinary, a held hand, a knowing glance, a shared cup. They knew that love, like coffee, required care, just the right dose of patience and warmth. Tmont Cafe, with its bell and aromas, remained a witness to their journey. Every morning, Linda entered, Alan by her side, and the barista smiled. The best coffee, she would ask. Always, Linda replied, her gaze on Alan.